Hey Lydia, what's up?
Hello, we are live.
How's your
Um,
morning? What's going on
it's
in your life?
it's good. I made myself coffee in this, actually, I made an espresso in this cute little cup and saucer.
I
I
was
don't know
going
if you
to ask
noticed.
what that was. It looks adorable in the cup.
I felt so fancy. I was just like, hello, good morning. How's your morning going?
It's good. I leave for Ireland in like 2 hours.
Oh yeah, duh. When you got on camera, I was like, you even look more Irish.
So just excited for the trip. And, I feel like, let me know if this happens to you too. Before I go away, there's just like all those little things to get done. And, we have like a workshop coming up. So I was like,
Oh
gotta
yeah,
get the email sent out, like, gotta get, posts and content ready, just wanting to feel really supported right now so that when I'm away, I don't need to like be online all the time because that's not what I want. So feeling good about
totally. Totally. And then all of those other things pop into your awareness. Like you need to make sure all the garbages are out and like all just like the home things that you want. The last thing you want to do is like leave your garbage fermenting for 2 weeks. So
it.
I'm
Last time
already
we had ants when we got back from London, and I was like, oh no. And I know it's my fault. Like it's 1000% on me. Eric is so much cleaner. I probably like didn't do the countertops perfectly. And we had ants. And then this time I'm like, we're away for 2 weeks. So what about my indoor plants? Who's going to water them? What about my garden? Like, got to get a
all the
schedule.
planting groups.
I have people on my schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my friends, he's just like over the top with everything, which is really funny. I appreciate that about him. So for their garden last year, they put a tarp down so they don't have to worry about any weeds and like holes for every plant.
Yeah.
And then they also set up a water system. Like this is my friend's husband. He's just like over the top with everything. A water system on a timer. So it's literally like a proper farm.
I mean, that's amazing. Like when you're going to have the water
Right.
system like in the ground, I've seen this setup. You can have the hoses that are like in the garden beds, and
Yeah.
then they have these little holes, and then
Yeah.
yeah, all goes on in a timer. We're not that advanced over here.
I don't know if I would ever spend time doing that, but I like the option. I like that it's available.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's good.
whoever doesn't know, this week was a special week for two reasons. One, it was my birthday. I am 30. How old am I? I'm 32. That's wild. You're like, Lydia, you're 32. I'm like, okay, let's calm down. So I'm 32 years old. Feeling one of my friends texted me and she was like, welcome to Dirty 30. I'm like, ooh, dirty, flirty, and thriving. Remember the movie,
Absolutely.
or what movie was it? Oh, 13 going on 30,
I
where she was
loved that movie.
going to be 30,
Yeah.
flirty, and thriving. So funny. But yeah, it was my birthday, and on the same exact day, we decided to drop a visibility era, which is our workshop coming up. We are so stoked about this. This was one of those, it was one of those things where it just popped into our awareness, and we were like, oh, we have to run this. It's one of the missing pieces when we think about visibility. I think the number one thing that we hear is like, I'm afraid. And there's lots of reasons to be fearful of visibility. It could be clarity. It could be that you don't feel like you have the tools. It could be that you genuinely just get nervous when you're on stages or speaking to others. So, anyways, today we're going to be talking about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because that's how, honestly, I feel like that's the motto for entrepreneurs. Like, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. When do we ever feel super comfortable launching anything, starting our businesses? So visibility is the same. Let's do it.
I mean, all entrepreneurs have that growth mindset. It's like you probably didn't start a business to make no money. You also probably didn't start a business to hide in the corner and have no one see what you're doing, because how are you going to get clients? How are you going to generate income? How are you going to grow? How are you going to have a team without all those things? So it's such a natural evolution as you say, okay, I would like to get this brand and my business in front of more people. I would like to, look at different strategies to get my business a little bit more visible, because a lot of us are used to social media, which is beautiful. Like we all need to have a strong social media presence, but there are also ways to generate, of course, new leads. There's ways to generate and just get in front of new people who are looking for what you do. But then when we say, okay, I want to do that, even if you've like been on a podcast, these fears can still come up, because why
Yeah.
would they come up? Like you're just at the next, I always see it as like threshold of, and the threshold is like this is our comfort zone. This is what we've done before. This is what, if I've talked about my business on an Instagram live, I'm pretty comfortable with that. But if you've never talked about your business on a stage in front of others, of course it's above your threshold of comfort. So how do we navigate that? And it's so freaking, just like everyone deals with this, myself included. Lydia, you too.
Yeah, definitely. I was just talking about this. I'm like, gosh, like the way, and this is something that Bridget and I have been talking about a lot, is like, how do we process information? How can we work best together? There's two of us, there's not just one. So like we both are trying to honor each other's processes and how we create new content, everything. So Bridget likes to talk things out, which makes sense why she's like a speaking coach. And she's just, she's our speaking leader. But for me, I like to write. And so sometimes when I'm processing information, I get a little bit nervous when I'm speaking, because I'm like, oh my God, the way that I think is like not linear at all. I'm all over the place. And so for me, that was a growth edge. It was like, okay, can I be okay with this? And then how do I navigate? This is something that we want to talk about today, actually. How do we navigate our challenges, I guess? How do we navigate them? How do we say, okay, it's fine to have these nigglies come up, it's fine, but how do we work with it? So like one of them we were talking about actually yesterday was, we were talking about how we both get like a little sweaty and clammy. We speak in front of audience members. So like, why don't we just wear patterns and just say, fuck it, I'm going to be sweaty and that's okay. I'm just going to throw in a different type of shirt so I don't even have to worry about it. Let's get clammy, whatever.
I think there's so many ways that we can do this. Yes, I always make sure that my clothing is appropriate for my fear, basically.
Yeah. My clothing is appropriate for fear. But that is one of the most important things I think about speaking on stages, for me anyways. It might be different for somebody else, but like if I feel good by the way that I'm feeling in my body and also by the way that I look, I feel so much more confident. So for me, it's like visual is really important. I want to make sure that I have like maybe loose fitting clothes. I'm not feeling like I'm wearing like a tight garter or something. Yeah. I want garter. But seriously, like if you're wearing really tight jeans, like maybe you don't want to do that, especially if you're a person that gets a little like stomach upset before you go up speaking. That used to happen to me. I remember in college, a few times I had to get in front of the big like auditorium styled. I went to big schools. Bridget and I both went to Rutgers together, but separately because we did not know each other then. Anyway, the classroom sizes are pretty big. So if you did need to speak in front of your class for a project, you're probably speaking in front of at least like 70 kids. So I would get really nervous and my stomach would get upset. There was absolutely no way I could wear jeans. I would always try to put on those corporate-y type of pants that are like kind of cute. Honestly, corporate clothes, I think about this all the time. I'm like, they did it right. They thought about comfort first. Aren't they so comfortable?
I had a different experience with corporate clothing.
Well, I would just wear like really loose like blouses or like really soft turtlenecks with like legging styled ones. You have to go to like, well, I don't even know if they're in business anymore. It was like New York and Company.
Yeah, or like Ann Taylor pants. Well, at Rutgers, I was in that professional business fraternity. So when we were like pledging that fraternity, we needed to wear professional business clothing and like slacks and what's it called? A jacket? What's it called? Like
blazer.
A blazer.
Mm-hmm.
I was not always that comfortable. And I was like, oh, I don't love this. So then when I got out of school, my first job was at Yelp and it was like, you can wear anything you want. I was like, okay, we're good.
One of your first questions, are we wearing corporate clothes?
Yeah,
meanwhile,
what's the dress code?
What's the dress code? I must know. Meanwhile, my first job out of school, it was we had to like wear corporate clothes. We go to a lot of events. I did field marketing and sales for them. So I would like put on different corporate outfits and I freaking loved it. I had like 3 outfits I rotated. I feel like everyone just saw, like I was like a cartoon character. I just had like 1 outfit, maybe 2 or 3. And I was like, this is who I am. I'm a cartoon and I'm comfortable. Mm-hmm. I had one of those like skirts that make you look like a librarian. I feel like corporate clothes has gotten so much cuter. Definitely. When we were younger, like those skirts were like wool and they were really, really like big and like made you look like a box. Now they're all like cute and tight with a little slit in the back. Like that wasn't a thing. That was not a thing.
Well, I mean, this goes back to our main point, because a couple of years ago, I was doing the Rock the Mic online. I was doing these live video challenges, helping business owners basically sell their programs and their products by speaking on video. And this was like 2020. So it was, digital, like social was like everything. And I would ask that question, like, what holds you back from going on camera? Number one answer, which like blew my mind, it was what they were wearing. Like they didn't feel confident in their appearance. And I was like, whoa. So, I mean, what you're saying about feeling really good about what you're wearing when you're getting visible, especially if you're in person, just your outfit, like making sure that you're wearing things that you don't sweat in. Like these are the things that are that we're thinking about behind the scenes and are actually really important. Because of course, if we feel good, like we're going to be more confident. We're going to go up there with a little bit more like, prowess in the way that we hold ourselves and, our ability to speak.
Yeah. There is a coach that I see go live. And when she does like big workshops or she's on big podcasts, she gets her makeup done professionally. Now, I'm not saying like be as bougie as you want and like go do that. Like obviously, if you want to do that, go do that. You don't have to. But like we also have to think about what makes us feel good and what makes us feel comfortable before we get onto those stages. So like we're talking about just these little challenges that we have, not making them wrong and being like, this is how I get, and going into a spiral, thinking to yourself, okay, how can we work with this? That's like the number one thing. And that's why we're so excited to run Visibility Era, just bringing it back to our workshop that's eventually happening the end of June. So if you want to join us, it's only $27. There's so much value. We basically just made it money. we made it a money exchange because we want you guys to be there. And what we've noticed is like, yes, we get like a lot of people that come to our workshops, but like just for you guys, accountability is so important when it comes to visibility and that journey. And what we've realized is a small investment just like makes people, it's some like psychological thing. It like makes people show up. So we are investing in your visibility era. I was going to say future. I'm like your visibility era. So anyway, these are one of the things we'll be talking about is like, how do we create this almost archetype for ourselves? So we can step out of this like fear and keeping the pressure on us. I think this is something that Bridget and I talk about a lot. Why we feel so much pressure when it comes to being seen on podcasts and editorial and all of these things. And it's that I see a lot of coaches say this online, and it honestly pisses me off because it's not true. They're like, I am my business. Somebody even posted about that the other day. We asked in our Facebook group, and not to make this wrong, this is something that is rampant in the industry, but like we asked people what their businesses were and to describe it in one sentence. And somebody wrote that it was her. I am my business. And to me, I'm like, I don't necessarily think that's true. And reason being is if we were our business, imagine the amount of pressure to be perfect all the time in the way that we want to show up in our business. What if we can just be the contribution to our brand and our brand can be separate from us? That is so important. I think also like just for mental health reasons.
Totally. And I get both parts of it. And I think like the angle that we're taking here, and because I've been in that other camp where it's like the business is me, right? But then what happens when your sales go down? Unworthiness starts popping up and you start going, I guess that no one wants what I have anymore. Like then you start going into, no one wants me. And like, that's a dangerous, it's a dangerous line. So when it comes to visibility, we do believe in like having this brand that you're projecting out into the world. It's an entity outside of yourself. And that entity might likely have similar values to you. It might have like some of your favorite colors if we're talking logos and visuals. It might have a similar message, but that entity is also like the highest version of yourself. And it's not you because you're right. It's a lot of pressure to be like, well, what if I fail? Like then it's all about you. What if the business fails and you're the business? Then it's all on you. Oof, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And what's beautiful about allowing our business to be this total separate entity, whatever, is that whenever is that we get to actually say like, okay, now now I can have fun with this. I can dream up something that is totally different from myself. And that is so exciting. That gets us in the area of like possibility and like creativity and dreaming things up. And I feel like so much magic comes out of creativity when we are just having fun. I mean, this is just like the simple law of attraction and gratitude and all of that too, right? And just being in good vibes is like things come to us when we're in good vibes. So why don't we just be in that place of having fun and saying like, okay, okay, I'm going to just like level with you guys here. Visibility arrow. We were talking about this whole idea of creating a different archetype for ourselves when we get in front of the stage. And I was talking about like some other celebrity that just didn't really make sense. And Bridget was like, oh, Sasha Fierce, like Beyonce. And I was like, what are we talking about? I am not a huge Beyonce fan, given like Bridget's like me neither, but I just know this. Given I love some of her songs, like let's just be real, some of them just slap. But like when we are thinking about Sasha Fierce, this is Beyonce's alter ego. Sasha Fierce is exactly what she wants her brand to be, because musicians are brands too. Exactly what she wants her brand to be on stage. She wants Sasha Fierce to be fierce as hell. She wants her to be confident. She wants her to be sassy. She wants her to be all of these things. If you were to sit down and have tea with Beyonce, I highly doubt she would be like this sassy whole thing. But on stage, that's her beautiful stage presence and persona. So like, why don't we just do that for ourselves?
Yeah. And like maybe don't name yours, like, right. Maybe your like visibility alter ego doesn't have a name. Maybe it does. Like, but for me, I noticed that, behind the scenes, Bridget is very similar to what I show up on stage like, but there's also a part of me that before I go on that stage, I am holding in my mind and in my body confidence, like prowess, ability to articulate a message with such poise, such delivery,
Beautiful.
such a pointed talk. And yeah, that's Bridget, but Bridget also has the fears, but Bridget on the stage knows what she's doing. She's practiced it. She's seen herself doing this. So like, that's my almost like alter ego. When I go up there, I know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if I didn't understand that that's what that archetype was, I might go on the stage with all the fear still. I mean, they can still be there, but as Big Magic, like, have you read Big Magic?
No.
Oh my God, Lydia, you would love it. So, like,
okay.
This is the concept, or one of the concepts, like fear is always going to be with us, but most of the time we let fear take the wheel. So instead, why don't you put it in the passenger seat, maybe even the trunk, and say, hey, you can be here too, but you're not going to drive my show. And when you are stepping into your visibility era, like that fear can be with you. Yeah, we can acknowledge it. We can name it. We can say, okay, cool, I see you. But like, who's in the driver's seat? And that's the people that we love being in community with, those action takers, the people that want to freaking they want to do the damn thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the solution here, or like the point we're trying to get at, is to have fun with it. If you want your brand visibility to be like a Sasha Fierce, like do that. That's totally cool. If you wanted to just be a higher version of yourself that like allows the fears and allows the doubts to just sit in the back seat, that's cool too. Yeah. Like, actually, one of the biggest things for me when I started my agency, I started just referring to my business as Lydia Bagarozza LLC. Do I not always say this? I'm
you do.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, I'm here at Lydia Bagarozza LLC, or and I do that on purpose because I don't want to mix myself up with my agency. My agency is different. Lydia, that's going to turn off at 5 p.m. tonight. She's going to go and have a picnic on the beach and watch a sunset with her friends. Like that's so fun. And I get to be quirky and silly and hang out with my friends. But Lydia Bagarozza LLC is just like closing down the office for the day. And like, we're different, that's my business. That's not who I am. And I like to be quirky and show my little like joking laughter self in front of people. That's something that I get to choose though. So if I want to show my humor as a piece of my brand, I get to choose that. And so I'm choosing that. But if I chose to be a little bit more serious in my business, that's also a choice too. So it's just having fun with it.
I love that. Let's talk about how like we personally navigate the visibility fears. Like we kind of talked about, from a clothing and sweating perspective, but you've been the person who is helping other people be visible for over a decade, like, and you've been really freaking good at it. And you're also in this season of, coming up and like coming out as I am this person who can be seen also. So like, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's so funny because I know exactly what my clients should do. I feel so confident telling them how to media train them, like the things to say. Like if you're on a podcast, it's pre-recorded. It's typically not live. So, I mean, we're doing it live, but like it's typically not live. So if you accidentally said something that like isn't great or you don't want it to be on air, you can always say off the record, and media contacts know that that is something that they will not be uploading, or they can cut that piece out, especially if you're doing an interview with media contacts editorial. So that's something, I know exactly what to tell them to do when the question comes up that's like, tell me about yourself and your business. I will help them to craft that quick conversation, because that one is scary. Everybody's like, I don't know, I'm just going to go into like my childhood story. Well, it's all started in 1991. Like, no, we're not going to do that. So it's been not today. So it's been really interesting to shift out of that and allow myself to even be more visible. I think back in maybe September of last year was when I really realized like, oh, number one, if I want to grow my business, I need to be more visible. And that was something that was kind of a scary realization for me. And then number two, I was like, well, this is not who I am. I'm not somebody that's on stage. So like, how am I supposed to show up? Like, I've never been that person. I've always been behind the scenes. I worked with top musicians. I worked with huge brands across the United States that are retailing at top places like Ulta, Sephora, Target, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom. Like I have helped these businesses grow their brands so much on platforms, but I've never done it for myself. So shifting gears and really feeling and walking the walk, like I understand on such a deep level how scary it can be. One of my biggest fears is, and something that I've noticed, is that I process my information. I process thoughts in general, kind of in a very like not linear way. We just were talking about this, but like it really, I think the way that I process is more kind of just like spurts of things that pop into my head. And so for me, when I'm speaking, I get really nervous when I notice myself doing that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going into like a thought spiral that makes no sense. And the people that are listening are going to be like, this person is not clear at all. And so what actually has helped me with that is to just be like, who cares? And then I feel more comfortable, and actually it eases my mind more to get my point across. Something that Amanda Francis said, I was listening to her podcast like a few months ago, and something that she said on one of her podcast episodes was, I love where I was 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago in my business, because she did the best that she could. And to me, that was the most powerful thing to hear as a business owner, because it took all the pressure off of having to be perfect. I suffer intensely from perfectionism. I know a lot of people do. Bridget's always like Bridget, I probably drive her freaking crazy. Thank you for being just like such a beautiful soul and allowing me to be nuts. We'll do like create like a graphic or something. I'm like, do you think it should be 2 centimeters to the left? Actually, no, let's move it over. Like, it's really crazy. Anyway, it makes me good at those things. It's a double-edged sword, but allowing ourselves to not be perfect, I think, is so huge.
I think also, like, especially in today's day, like this is what you and I talk about all the time. It's like being human is actually one of our greatest assets these days.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anyone saw this video or was listening to this prior, but we had like a whole tech snafu, and, Lydia couldn't hear me and I was just talking to the wall essentially and awkwardly. Like,
I was just sitting there in silence, and I was like, it was so funny, but you know what? That's life. Things happen. It's not perfect. And we decided to delete it, not let that whole scenario trip us up. And we're like, all right, we're just going to pop back in. Now we're telling you guys about it, so it's like irrelevant. But we were like, we're just going to go into it and pretend like that never happened. No one saw us, which somebody may have in our group, whatever. But allowing ourselves to be human is one of the greatest assets, I feel like, in today's world where everything is considered perfect. Even what's funny is even on TikTok, like it's more of a platform where it's supposed to be like the imperfection, but it's almost like another type of perfectionism. It's almost like being perfectly imperfect. I don't know. So, and everyone does the same thing. Like the get ready with me is really big, which is this is such a millennial thing. Like everyone puts like GR, whatever, get ready with me, the acronyms,
Yeah.
and I'll see it up on the screen and I'm like, what the hell is Grom? For literally like 3 months, and everyone starts the video with like, get ready with me, and it just like didn't click anyways. Awkward. Everyone does the same thing, and so then it ends up being like in this perfect little box. So it's funny because the whole point was for it to be imperfect, like you show your face and you're doing your makeup and it's like this really natural thing, but it's almost to me like a facade. So allowing yourself to really just like be authentically you, or letting your brand be authentic in its most natural state. And I'm not saying to show up on calls or video calls, whatever. I'm not saying to show up on podcast interviews in like your pajamas. Like, I don't know, let's not do that. But if you just so happen to get a pimple on your face or something, and you just show up and you're like, hey, this is what's happening right now, like that's okay. You're human too.
I've like found that sometimes acknowledging these things in the presence of others, like I've interviewed so many people over the years, hundreds and hundreds of people. Yeah. And a lot of times people will be like, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, no worries. Like,
oh yeah, you said this. Oh my gosh, this was the most valuable thing that you said. It's like, I'm so extreme. I'm always like the number one, but really I did love this point that you made inside Visibility on Purpose this last round. All the women were like, oh my gosh, we're so nervous, blah, blah. And you said to them, why don't you just say I'm nervous? And it takes the edge off. Can you talk about that? Because I thought that was so cool. It totally
does. And I've been speaking in front of people, and other people have, been in the same arena. And, we were in London last month, and it was at the Positivity Summit, and it was someone's first time of ever speaking in front of a crowd.
I love how she just low-key goes, I was in London last month. It was the positive. All right. So Bridget was flown out to London, if you don't know, to speak. Our girls flying out to Europe, got paid to do it. Anyway, very cool.
So cool. Like, and we can talk about that in another episode, like manifestation coming true, like, because you and I can go deep on that. Yeah, write that one down.
We'll be doing that.
We'll come back to that one. So we're at the Positivity Summit.
Manifest it.
The girl who goes first, such a darling, beautiful human. She had never spoken in front of people before. She had never told, it was, she was really going up there to tell her story. And one of the first things she said was, I'm really nervous right now. And I swear to you, like people leaned in further because she was just like so real. And she had one of the best talks I've ever heard. She was just so like real. In that moment, we felt her. And that's what makes a good speaker too. Like, I have some opinions about like TEDx talks these days because they feel very robotic to me. Yeah. And I think there's, it's been put on a pedestal so much as like one of the things that you do as a, an influencer, industry expert. But I do feel personal like brand. Personal brand. And there's beautiful parts of that. Yeah. But I do feel like sometimes we've lost the essence of being natural and not being so poised and perfect. And like those people are rehearsing 200 times, you know what I mean? Like, which is amazing to watch. So I say this, like seeing both sides of it. It's just that when we are coming back to the point, it's like when we are nervous and we're having these things come up, it's not the worst thing to say, like, I'm feeling a little emotional right now. Like I'm feeling a little nervous right now. And during my talk in London, I started getting choked up and people leaned in. I did not plan on getting choked up.
That is such a good point. I weirdly love, and I say weirdly because it is kind of weird, but I weirdly love when people cry on stages. Like I am such a crier. We're talking like if I watch reality TV, some trash TV, if someone's crying, I start crying. I'm like, am I okay? It's something stupid, but it's just, it really, you can feel their emotions, especially being like an empathic person. A lot of our a lot of our clients are super empathic, and I feel like people are just empathic in general. When we see somebody get emotional or really just feel so deeply for their work or their topics, like that to me really makes me want to lean in and say like, wow, this person, this topic, this work that they're doing, like it's serious. This is important. And so I think emotions are a great way to be a human and also to like really just showcase why something is so important. And when we think about like stage presence or even just speaking on a podcast, if somebody is monotone the whole time, aren't you like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I'm over it? But if somebody is laughing or getting a little emotional, I mean, obviously we don't want to like go extreme. Like, let's not go extreme here. Like showing their personal side, to me, that shows that like they are authentic and genuine. And so I want to purchase whatever it is that they have. I talk about this one a lot, but I was listening to an episode on Almost 30, and Bridget and I actually talk about this all the time. Both of us are people that buy into brands that we believe in and founders that we believe in. And I cannot begin to tell you how many things I have purchased from podcasts. Like if I hear an entire episode, number one, there are certain shows that I will listen to regardless of who the speaker is or the guest is, just because I trust the host. So right there, that should tell you like, oh, these platforms hold a lot of value in my business growth, because even if somebody doesn't know you or doesn't necessarily think they like your brand, they're going to listen to you anyway for 30 minutes to an hour. That is a lot of time somebody's investing in you, and a lot of space to convert them to a lead, to a potential client. So that's why we think visibility is so important, because it literally is. It's a funnel to your business that makes you money
In the most
I'm
natural way. Like
in the most natural way.
I mean, I always tell the story. My mentor that I've been working with, and you were working together for a year long, one-on-one. I listened to her on a podcast, everyone. She was talking about like the season of life that she was in was, challenging. She just had a kid. She was paying her team a lot more money. And, she was just in that season of like needing the support. And something in me was like, I respect that. Like, and she's vocalizing that like, holy shit, this person is okay with being transparent. They know their value still. Like they know that their business still has value. They have a team still supporting them. Like, holy shit. I invested, and it'll be, a 5-figure investment.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think it's also just like relatability.
Yeah.
I was listening to Almost 30, and I heard the founder of It Cosmetics, and I've seen It Cosmetics, and I think they're sold in Ulta, Sephora, one of the two. I'm pretty sure Ulta. I spend more time in there. And I always see their end caps where it's like rosacea and whatever. And I look past it a lot. I'm going to be honest. And I also, if anyone doesn't know, I love beauty products. I love skincare. I used to do beauty PR, which is like in a past life. But anyway, so I always just kind of look past it. I saw that the episode came up. This was like 2 years ago. I was like, I'm cleaning my room. I love Almost 30. I guess I'll listen to it, even though I could care less about It Cosmetics. By the end, I was not only converted to a lead, but I was converted to a freaking raving fan. I loved how relatable she was. Her story was so interesting to me. And this is something I had no idea. Why would you know this about a beauty brand founder? Her whole thing was like feeling comfortable in your skin. And so working with what you have, she had rosacea and she wanted to feel comfortable in her skin. It wasn't really about covering it. It was just feeling confident. And she used to work in a diner. She went from working in a diner to having this idea and converting it into this huge multi-million-dollar beauty brand. And to me, that was such a relatable story of somebody who, the cards that were dealt were just like a very average, if not lower class family in the United States, had this idea, took a big shot at something, and was able to create this like beautiful business out of it. And it was just like, it was so cool. She even talked about her faith in it. And I was like, what?
Wow.
It was a really, so anybody listening, I highly recommend that episode, because it was just like, it threw me on an emotional roller coaster. But the things that really stood out to me was that it was relatable. She was just really authentic and genuine. She was vulnerable, and you can choose, again, all of the visibility stuff, like it's a choice. Like if you want to be vulnerable, you can. If you want to show your this side of you, you can. Like there's tools and tricks and tips that we can give you, but everything is a choice with what you want to share. I think this is something that like we need to remember too, coming out of the social media era. I think when social media first became a thing, everybody didn't know what to do. We were like, what do we show online? What do we not want to show? And so allowing these things to be a choice, it's a dance, it's a delicate dance. And that's why we have things like visibility era and visibility on purpose. So we can bounce these ideas and these stories off of each other and just have a support system there with us to help us share our stories. Ooh, this actually might be a good topic. Bridget, question about people that overshare.
Yeah, it
There's
is like a little bit of a balance.
Mhm.
You know, I think there's a beauty to still having your own life
Mhm.
that's
Totally.
not shown to the world. You know, I think that
Totally.
there are just some things that not everyone needs to know about. And I think for our mental health, especially, you know, social media moves so fast, and there are little bits and pieces of ourselves that we get to share. But I think there's a way that we can do it that, you know, supports the people who are listening, that, you know,
Mhm.
gives them the inspiration, the hope, the ability to take action, the strategy without us, you know, like we're still humans and we still need to process things on our own time and not always be publicly talking about that. And I was listening to a podcast, of course, the other day. And yeah, of course,
It's
she was
like, you know,
saying
like
that,
3:10 a day, whatever.
of course, like I'm going to listen to one right after this when I finish packing. And she was saying that, you know, she was in this really hard season of life and that she's so glad that she wasn't sharing that publicly because you need to process your stuff. And I don't think that social media is a place for us to process, you know,
That is a
that's
great
important.
point.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Wow. Great point.
Wow, that was that, yeah, that just blew me away. Well, what we tend to see is and this is why I think a support system is so necessary when we're deciding to be more visible. It's like how? What is the how? We'll see two sides of the coin. We'll see people that are really polished, they have a different even voice. Like this was interesting. I saw somebody online who was so excited. They got featured on TV. I was so proud of them. And I'm like, okay, like, blah, blah, blah. And I know this person. And I also have heard them on podcasts and they were like super chill. And then I watched the TV segment and he was a robot. He was like, hello, nice to see you, with a creepy smile. And listen, I freaking get it. Like, it's so scary to be visible. I'm so comfortable speaking online now. We've been doing it since like the pandemic, and I feel really comfortable. But if you threw me up on a stage, I'd probably need to do a lot of practicing. And so there's two sides of the coin. Getting back to my point here, it's the really polished, like nervous to show any sort of emotion and really stiff and stale. And then there's the other side that's like crying on the show, over processing, going into all of their trauma, almost like trauma dumping. And listen, I don't really know any how-to book. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but like what is the manual? Do you get a manual before you speak on your first show?
But
No.
okay, here's where this is important. This is why media training matters to have.
Yeah.
Of course, it's you want to show up really organically, but before you ever show up on a podcast, you're being interviewed on TV or on a stage, there should be some training done to know how to vocalize and speak and articulate your work, your story, and your journey. And like, I mean, that's obviously literally what we do in Visibility on Purpose. And to also bring this back to our whole point here, like, you can't even get on a podcast if you're scared to be visible in the first place. So there's like, you know, step one is to like navigate the fact that you have these goals, you have these dreams, but you're scared and there's all these fears coming up, and like, we're human. I still get scared. And then to prepare strategically so that you can show up organically and not overshare and not, you know, process the challenges on camera.
Yeah. Not process on camera, and also not be a robot. which is so, I mean, it's hard. I get it.
It
It's
is
so
hard.
hard, especially when you're on like a news station. News
Yeah.
stations are so polished. Let's
Yes.
talk about anchors, for example. Like, have you ever seen an anchor that doesn't talk like this?
No.
No. So
And you
when
get
you're
like
on,
2 minutes. You get like 2 to 3
yep,
minutes. It's
you got to be polished, tight. So it's like, how do we do all of those things? So Bridget, you've been on morning shows before. Like,
have
what was your experience?
see because I've practiced this. I have okay, let's like bring it back for a moment. Since 2017, I have been going like this to a camera and introducing myself and talking about my work. So it has become a lot more natural over time. I'm still the person there's a mirror in my office. So before I ever go anywhere, I'm literally talking to the mirror. I'm talking in my car. I'm talking to my husband so he can like give me feedback. A lot of times with like TV and morning shows, you'll be given some questions in advance. So, you probably do this with some of your private clients, but as a publicist, you might be giving them some of these questions and then saying like, I would recommend you practice these. So that's literally the point of media training. Like, that's why we say that Visibility on Purpose is a media training school, because if you've never written these things down, if you've never then gone and articulated, it can be hard. How do you do that in 2 to 3 minutes? Yeah. It's a practice skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really incredible about Visibility on Purpose and media training in general is we actually teach you how to write your pitch so that when you approach podcasts, TV segments, stages, you actually provide them with the list of topics that you want to speak on. And so they have a roadmap for you, which is actually, it's so funny because like you created this, like they come to you and they basically memorize or read off the questions that you had given to them in the first place. And so we help you create and come up with those questions, those bullet points. So you actually speak in a really, really potent way about your work, which can be hard too. Like when we're even talking about, I kind of think about it as like a resume. And recently I hired somebody for my agency and I looked at so many freaking resumes. And I also remember the hustle back in the day, writing resumes. And the bullet points are freaking dry. Everybody was just writing descriptions of a job. I'm like, as an employer, I have zero interest in you telling me every day I pitched my clients. Like, obviously you pitched your clients. That's what the job entails. Like, tell me more about the value that you provided for your clients or the last agency that you worked at. So when we are talking about what to say on these big stages or on these big shows or even approaching editorial, it's like we're talking about like what value can you provide for their audience. And that also is the way that you get these big media opportunities is showing them value, because the exchange, we teach earned press and organic press. We don't do pay to play. And so with that, you need to give them a good energetic exchange, which is like value for their access to their audience.
Yep. This is so good. So if you've been listening to this entire episode, we have been talking all about feeling the fear, doing it anyway. And I really do feel that so many of us are claiming our visibility era. Like, I love when you came up with that as the title, Lydia, because that's what this gets to be. This gets to be the era of our visibility. And like, likely if you're listening to this, you have a website, you have a strong social presence, you have offers, and you're in this moment of how do I grow this business? How do I scale? How do I get in front of new eyes? How do I expand my audience? How do I, talk to new people? And we specifically teach that through PR and media exposure. But if you know that that's your goal and you want that thing and the fear is in your way, like, come hang out with us so you can dance with your fear. Come to the workshop at the end of the month, hang out in this community. We are so grateful to be here with you all and to grow alongside with you.
Thank you so much. This is just a reminder, like this is a community. We're here to really support each other. Everybody in our spaces, they're doing this with us. They're doing this. They might be on the same stage as you. They might be a little bit further in their visibility era. And so allowing yourself to lean into that support is huge. Bridget and I are really big on community. Like both of us freaking love community. It's literally in my astrological chart. It's in my gene keys. It's in yours too. Like community, actually, my sun is, if anyone knows astrology, my sun is in the 11th house, which is the house of community. So I know that this is, yeah. So I know that this is something that's like extra important to me. It's written in the stars. So
Wait, I think my Jupiter is in the 11th house.
yeah.
Which would make a lot of sense. And my spiritual name, Priti Dal Jotkar, means the lioness who's connected to God's love through group and community.
I love that.
No, I'm bringing people together. Come on, guys. Come on in.
Come on, guys, come on in. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for being here with us today. We had so much fun, and join us in the next episode next week. Bye for now.
Bye.